Greetings, kindred, and happy full moon to you all. I can't believe we've already at the full moon. It's like, wow, the last 2 weeks have gone very quickly. But I'd like to say thank you so much to all of you that wished me a happy solar return. And yeah, that was a few days ago now. Yeah, so I was overwhelmed with all your messages. So thank you very much for that. So this full moon is an interesting one, actually. It's not really about high tension, but it is about a heaviness. Do you know what I mean? There's a heaviness in the air right now. But let's get into it. So the full moon will reach its peak on the 8th of December at 4:08 in the GMT time zone. And it will reach its peak on the 7th of December at 23:08 in the EDT time zone. Oh, sorry, too many T's there. The full moon will actually reach its peak in Taurus. Now, the moon will also be in conjunction with Mars, who's in retrograde at the moment, and both will be at 22 degrees. Then that's going to be quite an interesting energy playing out here. Now, 22 can be all about, unless we've broken through the barrier and are in our spirit, our higher consciousness or our higher awareness, then we can tend to sort of like feel a little bit earthbound with this energy, especially in Taurus. Because, like I've always said, with Taurus, seeing is believing, so Taurus is very committed to traditional values. He doesn't tend to like change. And with the moon in Taurus, he can be very sort of self-absorbed in a way, you know, um, kind of inconsiderate towards others, more into himself and finding his comfort and his inner peace. So at a full moon, the moon is always in opposition to the sun, who's at 8 degrees in Ophiuchus. And this is pretty interesting because 8 is the number of Saturn. So the sun also represents the father, as does Saturn, but Saturn also represents the grandfather. So this is a very masculine energy at play right now, especially with, although Taurus is considered feminine, I just feel there is a masculine energy at play here. And it's very much about the material, the physical. And, that can be kind of make our bodies feel heavy, or we can just feel a little bit overburdened in a way as well. And that can tend to make us like overspend, impulsive spending, especially with the moon conjunct Mars, or overindulging in something. It's an insatiable energy. But also because Mars is in retrograde, it could also mean that we're reviewing times in our life where we have been in that mode. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, this opposition is also creating a T square towards Neptune, who's at 0 degrees in Pisces, and the goddess Juno, who's at 17 degrees in Aquarius. Now, Juno is all about traditional values as well. But in Aquarius, Juno can tend to be pretty detached. So, when it comes to our traditional values, we may be feeling that detachment. And to be honest, this time of year, it's normally a very magical time. We normally see Christmas lights go up and, people are hustling and bustling around doing their Christmas shopping. There's normally Christmas music playing. But we're not really seeing that this year. I mean, it's very bleak. The outlook has been bleak for several months now. And it's hard to find that peace or that stability in this world with things the way they are, with the, you know, with the news that's being put out there. It's very hard for us to find stability in peace because we just don't know what's coming next. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe some of us do. But anyway, you know, this bleak view is this opposition here with Pluto in opposition to both the Black Moon Lilith and the Goddess Pallas. Now, the Black Moon Lilith conjunct the Goddess Pallas. I mean, that is a bleak perception. And in Gemini, it can very much represent, you know, that we're kind of like, maybe we don't want to put ourselves out there and our thoughts and our opinions because we feel we may be misjudged, especially with the sun, you know, Ophiuchus at the moment. You know, so this opposition is very bleak. I mean, I've spoken about the Black Moon Lilith being in opposition to Pluto a little while ago. And, you know, I've said it a few times actually, but this was husband and wife in mythology. And it's a very dark relationship that caused a lot of negative karma for mankind. And, you know, so that's where things changed for humanity. And I mean, things was already rough at the time, but, you know, that's when it started to get really dark. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, we just need to be aware of this. You know, this is an energy that can be, you know, things are looking bleak, but we can do something about it if we can break out of our comfort zone. You know, the energies this full moon are very karmic. You know, the moon in Taurus at 22 degrees can be very karmic. The sun at 8 degrees in Ophiuchus. 8 is Saturn's energy, and Saturn is about karma. You know, so I would say that with Mars in retrograde, maybe we are doing a lot of self-reflection, but we're not liking what we see. We're not liking the shifts and the changes that are occurring. It's putting a lot of pressure on us and making us feel detached. Or for some of us, we could just be off in fantasy land. Do you know what I mean? You know, being over optimistic about things with Jupiter in conjunction with Neptune, especially in Pisces, because Piscean energy and the Neptunian energy, they are the dreamers. And so we could be in a place of avoidance. We could be feeling over optimistic, especially with Neptune at 0 degrees, because there just is no boundaries here. You know, I mean, 0 is the number of Pluto, so there's such a depth that we can go to with our visions and our dreams that we're not in the real world. But the moon in Taurus really does shift us into the real world. But again, you know, it could be escapism. You know, Taurus can tend to, you know, get into escapist energy himself. But with him, it's more about the material, physical. Whereas with Pisces Neptune, it's more about the spiritual, the dream realms. Do you know what I mean? So we just need to be aware that, you know, we're not overindulging in our visions or our dreams or even in our material sources like overspending, overeating, you know, indulging in something, you know, whether it be alcohol or anything along those lines, or even being over selfish. Do you know what I mean? We really must take other people's feelings into consideration at this time, but it's going to be very hard to do that. And there is this kind of block on our creativity, you know. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is a very creative planet, but she's also one of finance. And I feel this moon's energy is more about finance than it is about the joys in life. Because right now, we cannot see the joy in life, not with this opposition. You know, we can rise above it if we're in our higher consciousness, but, you know, it's so hard to be there 24/7, you know, for the best of us. You know, we all have to go through these cycles in life, or these cycles, you know, in a period of time where it's a little bit up and down, you know. So, you know, if we can really express all this stagnant energy through creative art, through music, you know, getting in touch with nature, taking a walk, even in like, you know, wrap up warm, get your wellies on and go for a walk, you know, just get some fresh air because this is a very, very stagnant energy right now. And yeah, I think that's, you know, the way to make the best of it is by, you know, getting in touch with nature. You know, sometimes though, I feel this energy, you know, it's nice to actually just snuggle up indoors and read a book, watch a film, you know, do something along those lines if your body is feeling very heavy at the moment, because I just feel this energy is very heavy on the body. So yeah, I just feel like this full moon, some of us could be feeling a little bit overburdened with life and the material physical world. We've also got the solstice coming up on the 21st, so let's have a look at that chart. So the solstice takes place this year on the 21st of December. Now this is when the solstice reaches its peak at 21:40 here in the GMT time zone. So you can calculate that to your time zone. So this is GMT UK. And the sun will actually be at 3 degrees in Sagittarius, and the moon will be at 0 degrees in Ophiuchus. So I feel the load will lighten slightly. I mean, Venus will be at 0 degrees at the full moon in Sagittarius. So she is coming out of Ophiuchus. I mean, Venus in Ophiuchus can be overprotective of the people they love, you know. So now I see Venus getting a little bit more adventurous and a little bit more independent. And, you know, with the sun entering into Sagittarius, there's a little bit more of an optimism, you know. And the moon in Ophiuchus is good because the moon is very compatible with Ophiuchus. Not saying the sun isn't, because of course, you know, the sun is very much connected to Ophiuchus in Ophiuchus's masculine energy, which is the divine masculine. The moon is the feminine. So, you know, we have quite a nice balance here, especially since the sun is at 3 degrees and 3 is the number of Jupiter, who is the ruler of Sagittarius. So I feel on the solstice, there's going to be quite a bit of optimism. And I feel we'll really be in touch with our spiritual values. And, you know, this is a perfect blend of the sun and moon, you know, the masculine and the feminine. And the focus is all about balancing the masculine and the feminine. Now, also, the moon is in trine to Chiron. So we really are going to feel at ease with our, you know, with our past or with our teaching abilities. I just feel we're kind of being more alive at the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere. It'd be the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. Now, this moon in square to Vesta, I mean, this is really saying that we must treat our bodies as our temple. So Epsom salt baths, you know, pedicures, manicures, you know, doing the pampering thing would be great. Or even just like, you know, being like using our body as a channel, you know, like voicing sound therapies, either voicing that or listening to that, chanting. This is very good for working in groups as well, so that we will feel pulled to get more in touch with our divine feminine. You know, but with the sun in square to Ceres, the goddess Ceres here in Virgo, there is kind of like, again, a need for us to connect with nature, you know, and develop our personal inner strength. So the sun in square to Jupiter just actually warns us about excessiveness, you know, being excessive with our behavior more so. And, you know, so if we're not in our confidence, if we're not in our self-power, we may feel a need to, you know, act a little bit extreme, maybe to get the attention we feel we need, or, you know, along those lines. I think it's more about being authentic as well, about our spiritual practices. Do you know what I mean? So whatever this square creates in your life, just be aware that you know, we can go over the top with things. So that's kind of carrying on from the full moon, really, that kind of energy. And I think this might be to do with spending this Sun square Jupiter aspect, because Jupiter is also in opposition to the goddess Ceres. Now, this could be a little bit like us wearing our heart on our sleeve. And funny enough, the ascendant is in Leo here in the UK on the solstice. But I would say, I mean, even in a global aspect, you know, we could be showing our spirituality through gifting, through finances. You know, we could be showing our nurture towards others through the same sort of thing. So again, watch out for overspending. And, you know, sometimes people just want a listening ear, but maybe, you know, with the sun in square to Jupiter in opposition to the goddess Ceres in Virgo, I would say, you know, it's the simple things in life that count the most. So we just need to be aware of that. You know, Jupiter is also the ruler of the original ruler of Pisces before Neptune was discovered. So, you know, the Sagittarian Jupiterian energy is very, very strong. So, you know, we really need to get into our moon energy, this moon's energy here in Ophiuchus, and, you know, more into our spiritual self. Now, the moon is in opposition to Mars in retrograde in Taurus. So again, you know, this could be about reflecting on like maybe past behaviors. But we've got to learn self-forgiveness, do you know what I mean? Or right the wrongs of the past sort of thing. And Venus will be coming into conjunction. Mercury will also be in Sagittarius. So we'll be a lot more verbal, you know, there'll be a lot more talking going on. We won't be so isolated or, you know, not feel like, I feel at the full moon, we're going to very much feel like going into our cocoon, you know, and just finding comfort. Whereas at the solstice, we kind of break out a little bit. We want to kind of integrate with other people, or especially in groups. So I think the solstice definitely is about grouping together, maybe doing sound baths, you know, and things along those lines. Do you know what I mean? We do still have the Black Moon Lilith in conjunction to the goddess Pallas. in opposition to Venus, Mercury, and Pluto. So this energy, you know, this is what puts the dampener on things. I think, you know, it can really push us into, like, you know, speaking up for ourselves, or, you know, but again, there's this kind of unauthentic vibe here, you know, holding secrets or holding down the truth, not being completely honest with how we feel and how we think, because we're worried about what other people think, even though, you know, we may not have a clear perception, because our perception is very bleak at the moment. So I think we need to break that barrier with this energy, you know, and also I think it's the Black Moon Lilith is in quincunx to Saturn. So we're not really understanding what's going on in our man-made world right now. You know, we really can't get to grips with it, because what we're feeling on a deeper level, it's a lot more darker than what we're actually being told. That's how we're seeing things. Do you know what I mean? So we just need to watch out for that, because we might just be suppressing and, you know, like I said, wearing our hearts on our sleeve a little bit. So I would definitely try and keep within these energies here with the sun and moon, and, you know, just be aware of this sun square Jupiter energy, which can make us kind of like be more excessive in our spending or in our giving. You know, Ophiuchus is not materialistic at all. That energy is just not materialistic. You know, Ophiuchus doesn't really gel well with the man-made systems, and that includes currency. So if we can stay in our spiritual values rather than in our materialistic ones, then I think we're on the right path. Connecting with nature, sound baths. Remember, Ophiuchus holds the sound waves. You know, whatever works for you, I would suggest, you know, around about the solstice, definitely do some spiritual practices, whatever is your thing. And anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I'm feeling a bit heavy today. With this Taurian energy coming in, I'm still getting all this buzzing in my ears, and yeah, it's really getting on my nerves. But anyway, as always, I'm sending you all peace and much love. Take care.